that consultation process.
Question number 10 in the name of Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for ACC and asks, what responsibility does she take for failures at ACC since the 2011 election?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, I take ministerial responsibility for ACC from the date I received my ministerial warrant, which was on the 14th of December 2011. In accordance with the Cabinet Manual, I take ministerial responsibility for the direction and the priorities of the organisation.
Supplementary, Andrew Little.
Mr Speaker, what discussions did she have with either ACC Chairman John Judge or ACC Chief Executive Ralph Stewart or her staff about referring allegations made about Bronwyn Puller in the 16 March report to the police before that reference to the police occurred?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, I received a briefing from the Chairman and the Chief Executive, and I can recall that my comment to them was that any decision that they made must be theirs, and that I would stand by whatever decision they made as is something that a minister should do.
Supplementary. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Did she say, when questioned about the leak, quote, "The fact is, it also came from Miss Bogue," end quote. And if so, was she indicating that Ms Bogue was a possible source of the leak?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr Speaker, without actually having a full context and of that statement, alleged statement, it would be difficult to answer, because I've learnt from experience not to take everything that's said at face value from that member.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Is she denying that she said, when asked about the fact that she'd passed the email on to Mr Judge and Mr Stewart, that she then said, the fact is, it also came from Miss Bogue, so there are possibilities? Will she deny saying that?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr Speaker, without actually receiving and having a look at any transcript, I cannot answer that question that way. The fact is that without it in writing and without proof of it, I cannot take that member for having put that supposed comment in context.
Supplementary, Kevin Haig.
Speaker, is the Minister giving the House a categorical assurance that she neither instructed or approved or suggested that ACC make a complaint to the police concerning Bronwyn Puller?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, my comments to the Chair and the Chief Executive is that they must make their own decision. It is not for me to be involved in those individual decisions.
Order. Order.
Do they want to hear or not?
Order. Order. Judith Collins.
My statement is very clear to them that they must make their own decisions, and that I would back those decisions, whatever they were. Those decisions were made after they received their own legal advice, and I have since seen a legal opinion prepared by Mr Judge's QC, which is after the event, but which obviously took into account all of the events, which backed the decision of the board to refer that matter to the police for advice. The police were the right and proper authority to look at this issue.
Sorry, supplementary?
Yes.
Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Can I ask the Minister, in terms of her ministerial responsibility, as to this from a letter written by Michelle Bogue, a former member and head of the National Party, and I quote what she said, quote, "You will see in the correspondence attached to the email I am forwarding that while Mr Murch asked for the return of the data, he did not acknowledge that this would be contingent on reaching an agreement acceptable to both parties, which was our understanding," end of quotes. That from someone who was guilty and convicted of seeking to pervert the course of justice in the Commission of Inquiry. Is this not extortion? Straight out.
Well,
Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, I don't have ministerial responsibility for the actions of Miss Bogue or of Miss Fuller.
Supplementary, Kevin Haig.
Further to her answer to my earlier question, is she telling the House that Mr. Judge had his own personal counsel working on the matter of the complaint to the police as opposed to an ACC counsel?
Honourable Judith.
Mr. Speaker, I'm not sure that that is in fact what I'm telling the House. I'm telling the House that there was legal advice. The board.
Order.
I've advised I can say that Mr. Judge has advised me that he had legal advice, not only that from ACC and ACC's lawyers, but he advised me his own QC on this matter, which was, and actually I've seen the opinion and it backs up Mr. Judge.
Supplementary.
Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, what knowledge does the Minister have of ACC spending money that ought to be spent on those who have suffered injuries on public relations advice through Acumen Republic, including spending on polling to see how ACC's current problems should be massaged?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, that is an operational matter, but I'd also say that it is an operational matter. It's hardly setting the policy or the direction of the board.
Point of order, Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, that was a very simple question. What knowledge does she have? That is her responsibility. It is not an operational matter. Matters which are the Minister's knowledge are her responsibility, something she's trying to shift.
I'll ask the member to repeat the supplementary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. What knowledge does the Minister have of ACC spending money that ought to be spent on those who have suffered injuries, on public relations advice through Acumen Republic, including spending on polling to see how ACC's current problems should be massaged?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's not a matter for me, it's a matter for the board.
I'll hear the member.
Mr. Speaker, ministers are regularly briefed by the board, orally and in writing, as to the activities of the board. Those matters then become their knowledge, for which they are answerable here.
Yeah. The matter which was raised in the supplementary is in fact an operational matter, and it may not satisfy the member, but the member has an answer. Point of order, Honourable David Parkin.
The Minister is asked about what her knowledge was. That is not a matter of departmental responsibility. She was asked what her knowledge as Minister was. The answer may well be that she had none, and that would be a proper answer. But it is fair to ask her what knowledge she had of that.
She's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Can't be anything but. No one else is responsible for her mind than her.
I'll seek some advice. Order. Look, I have given a ruling, and I'm going to stand by that. The members have further supplementary questions if they wish to actually pursue that. Members are actually seeking to litigate a ruling by further points of order. That's right. Kevin Haig.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If it is true that the Minister did not instruct, approve or suggest the complaint to the police, and the matter was entirely an operational ACC matter, then why was the legal opinion sought by John Judge shown to the Minister?
Honourable
Mr. Speaker, that's a very good question. Mr. Judge sent it to me last week because he was concerned about a story in the Dominion Post which made allegations against him, and rather than to refer to the editorial policy of the Dominion Post, he felt it was right to send me the opinion that he had received.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, is the Minister denying to this House that she knew that ACC has or has been spending money on public relations advice through Acumen Republic, including spending money on polling to see how ACC's current problems should be massaged?
Honourable Judith Collins.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I have no knowledge of any polling being paid for, and I don't know why I would have.
A point of order, Andrew Little.
Mr. Speaker, the question was, is she denying that she knows that the money is being spent? It's not her knowledge of the polling, it's of money being spent by ACC on that activity.
No, I think the polling was related to the expense of money, and the member does have an answer. So we move to question number 11, Asanati Loli Taylor.